Yo, my lovelies, welcome back to my final video of 2024 because I don't think I'll be able to squeeze in another one. I like to kind of end the year and show you guys all the books that I read throughout the entire year. I filmed a similar video last year and it was a lot of fun, and I like to see what people read throughout the year. So I am on BookTube, like I follow certain BookTube people, but I'm not fully delving into BookTube. Me filming these videos is probably as far as I go, unless I get inspired to film a BookTube video, which I have done in the past. I would also like to mention that I'm a slow reader, so I'm not out to win a race of how many books I can read for the entire month or week. I kind of just go at my own pace, and it's very dependent on what mood I'm in and what book I want to read. So we'll just go with that. I thought I would film a video of me showing the 19 books that I managed to read this year and what I rated them out of 5 stars. So if you want to stick around for that, grab a snack and a coffee, and I will show you my book journey this year. I will start by saying, though, it was a very interesting year. My book themes and journey whatever is just all over the place. It's been very up and down. And one of these books in the mix is very controversial, but I'm going to be honest with you guys and show you all the books that I managed to get through this year. I will start with the books I read on my Kindle, and it wasn't many, unfortunately. But at the beginning of this year, I started with Binding 13. And I gave that a 3 stars out of 5. It was an enjoyable read, although there are some heavy topics in the book. But, I just didn't bond with it completely. Like, it wasn't a bad book, but it was just like a very... Like, if you like romance, but there's also a bit of heavy topics in there, then this book is good for that. So 3 out of 5 stars. Not bad, but not great either, in my opinion. I also just like to say this is my opinion on the books I read, and I know everyone's taste is different with books and they read. Like, everyone has their own experience with different books, so I'm just sharing my journey and emotions and my experience with each book. I'll just say that as well. Okay, the next book that I read on my Kindle was The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden, and I did actually really like that. It's just kind of like a light thriller, if you know Frida McFadden. And I do like her writing style. And I actually gave that a 4 out of 5. And I will definitely read more of the Housemaids series. I also read The Co-Worker by Frida McFadden, and I gave that a 2.5. It was an interesting story, but it was there. It was okay. And I'm just looking, I think that's all I read on my Kindle. I'm currently reading another Frida McFadden on my Kindle, and that is called The Teacher. And I'm only 16% of the way through that, so I need to hurry up and finish it because I started that back in, I think, May or June. Yeah. But I like to have 2 books going. Like, I like to have one on my Kindle and then one physical book. As you can see, I have my forever growing book collection behind me. And then probably after that, on my Kindle, I've downloaded Jade City by Fonda Lee, so I want to start that. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, so I'm slowly getting through my Kindle books, and this is just a great portable book thing to have, and it's so handy. And I don't know why, like stupid me, I thought when you bought a Kindle, it would have like an audiobook option. And I don't know why I thought that. Like I thought there would be a speaker and you could but I know that's what audiobooks, like that app is for. But I don't know why I thought that that would come on the Kindle. So it shows how much I did my research beforehand. But I'm loving reading on the Kindle. It's a really cool vibe. Now the physical book pile is right next to me, and I'm just going to grab whatever and show you guys the books that I read. And I do apologize about my reviews. I'm not going to go in depth of each book because we will be here for hours and hours. And honestly, my memory is really shocking. Unless a book really stands out for me, then it's kind of just like if I read a book back in March, unless I take notes and write things down, my memory gets a bit foggy. Like for me to really remember a book, I'll need to read it like a few times. Not that I don't remember books that I read, but you know what I mean. Like the details get a bit hazy, especially with the books that I read earlier in the year. So I do apologize about my bad reviews. However, I am not a professional booktuber at all. So we will start with something dark, romancy, and it was The Sacrifice by Chantel Tessa. And if you know these series, you know. I do like dark romance, and I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. There's a lot to unpack with these book series. There's 2 other books in the series, but you don't have to read them in order. You can read them by itself. And yeah, these dark romance books are not for everyone. But just read the trigger warnings before you pick this book series up or this book. But I'm not ashamed. Gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was very entertaining. A little bit what the hell at times, but that's what you get with dark romance books. The next book on the list is Crown of Midnight, and I gave this a 5-star apparently. I read this earlier in the year as well. And if you know the series, you know, so I won't talk about too much about Sarah J. Maas because she is everywhere. And the one thing though, even though I gave this a 5 stars, in this series, especially with a fantasy series, there is a lot to unpack. Like there's world building and characters and different rules and regulations about magic and all that. So, and magic systems and whatever. That's one thing I am struggling a bit with, and I have to take notes and write things down with a heavy fantasy series because my brain cannot remember all the little details. However, I am enjoying the Throne of Glass series, and yeah, this one was a great experience. Another book or book series I'm enjoying is the Zodiac Academy, and unfortunately I'm only up to book 2, and there's like a lot of books, like 7 or 8 or 9 books I think in this series, and I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I am so enjoying the Zodiac Academy. Book 1 and 2 were just so much fun to read. I like the magic system. I like the characters and the twins in this book. It's just exciting to read their journey about their new life. And with this book, I actually have not annotated it, but I've kind of left markings on big events that have happened just to remind me, because again, like I mentioned, like with Throne of Glass, it is a big fantasy series with a big magic system, and my single brain cell can't remember all the details. So I found with this, I've just marked the important bits, because with fantasy series, I kind of will read one and then read another book. That's just how I've been rolling so far. And I find if I kind of mark the bits that are important, I can kind of reference back to certain bits, so I kind of don't miss anything. And that seems to be working really well with this series. I'm actually really excited to read the entire series of Zodiac Academy, but I'm slowly making my way through that series as well. With this next book I'm about to show you, I can just feel the judgment coming already. However, I'm going to put it on the list because this book was an achievement, and I'm actually quite proud of myself for finishing this entire book. And if you want to click away or unsubscribe straight away, that's fine. I do not really care. I'm just sharing my books and my experiences this year with my books. And the book that I'm talking about is the Bible. Yes, I read from Genesis right through to Revelations, the entire Bible. Not a page was skipped, not a page was missed. This took me 9 months to unpack this book. There are many reasons why I read this book, and I just thought in 2024, I was like, I'm going to bite the bullet. And yeah, there's a lot of reasons why I wanted to read this book. But I read this book out of curiosity, because I was like, I just want to see what it's all about, because you hear so many things. And the other reason was because my dad, who is now passed away, he died about 10 years ago, said that the Bible was the greatest book he's ever read. And he read a lot of books. Like, he mostly read Italian science fiction books. I remember this conversation one day when I asked him, what's your favorite book? And he said the Bible, because it's the greatest book that's ever written. And he was not religious. He never went to church or anything like that. However, we had many discussions about God and Jesus when I was a younger girl. This year, I just decided, right, I'm going to see what this is all about. All I can say about this book is you have to approach it with an open heart and an open mind. Please, 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 please ignore the judgmental Christian superiority people, what you hear and what you see and hear online. Please ignore that, because that's what I see. Like, around where I live and online, there is so much judgment and just bad energy created around this book. And it's those annoying people who just have misinterpreted the Bible's message. And I'm not saying everyone interprets the Bible, or gives bad messages. There are some beautiful online people who hit the nail on the head with the message of the Bible. But all I ask is that you put all that judgmental crap from other people aside and just read it yourself. You have to experience and read it yourself. And then you can form an opinion and judgments, and then we'll have a conversation. And I'm not just talking about reading like 1 or 2 chapters. To really understand it, you need to read the entire thing, whether it's the New Testament, the Old Testament. Just read it for yourself. Even if you don't kind of believe in all this, at least appreciate the historical stuff in the Bible and appreciate the humbling, down-to-earth, simplistic life advice that this book gives you. I have read many self-help books, and this book took me by surprise. The Bible is such a beautiful, poetic, emotional roller coaster, and I still have so many unanswered questions about this book. Even if you don't believe in all this, at least appreciate the life and self-help advice that it can give you. And I know everyone's opinion of it is different, and everyone has different experiences, blah, 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 blah. I'm just sharing mine today. I think some people need to really read this book to bring them back down to earth. And like I said, there are still so many unanswered questions that I have, and some parts of this book are just cringy, and I was just having so many what the actual F moments with this book. It's a very up and down journey. However, it is a beautiful, beautiful book. And I understand why my father said it was the greatest book that was ever written. So I give this book a 5 out of 5 stars. And I'm kind of laughing and smiling because you can't give this book a 5 out of 5 stars. Like, it's just to infinity and beyond out of 5 stars. And for me, this is quite an accomplishment, finishing this book. And so this is the copy that I read the first time, and I've just taken notes. I've highlighted bits. Like, my notes are very, very basic because there was a lot to unpack. And like I said, this book took me a good 9 months to get through it. And yeah, it was a big journey, but I'm glad that I read it. And I would just like to say that I am reading it a second time as well, just to really delve in, because the first time was kind of just me getting to know the Bible, but the second time, and the Bible that I'm reading the second time is a Hosanna Revival Bible. They are just beautiful. I do have other Bibles and Bible versions, and yeah, but I am reading it a second time, and I'll probably read it a third and fourth time. And I know that might seem crazy. I don't know where this journey is going to take me. I'm kind of just going with the flow and enjoying the Bible ride. There is a lot to say about this book. So many conversations about it, so many opinions, and it's been a real fun, exciting, cringy, beautiful journey with this book. Ooh, okay, next book. Next book is The Hair of Fire, which is in the Throne of Glass series, and I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. The characters in this are slowly coming together and things are really happening. So yeah, 4 out of 5 stars. If He Had Been With Me, I gave this a 2 out of 5 stars. I did not enjoy this. I think if I was a teenage girl, I would have enjoyed it more. This, I'll be honest, this was a book where I saw the cover and I'm like, oh, that just looks really interesting. I'm a sucker for a good cover, but I just didn't really enjoy this book. It kind of just dragged on and some of the characters were just annoying me. It is a teenage romance book in some way and not my vibe. Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas is, if you know, it's in the Throne of Glass series. This was a 4.5. I love this book. And this is where things are starting to get really badass now. I was aiming to finish the Throne of Glass series this year, but it kind of never happened. But that's fine. I hopefully will finish it next year. This is the 4th book in the series and there's 8. And I'm just really excited to delve in this world. Like, I really want to see what happens after this book. The next 3 books are a bit random as well. I'm a moody reader and sometimes I just want to read children's comic books. And I've started the Amulet series and I actually really love this. I've got all the 8 books and it's just like a graphic novel book series, but the story is really cool and exciting and engaging. Even for a grown adult woman, I'm actually really enjoying this. And sometimes you just want to break from heavy fantasy and too much overstimulating fantasy books, and this is why I turn to children's books, because it kind of just is so simple and an easy read. And that is the next 2 books as well, is the Dork Diaries. I'm really enjoying this series as well. And this is like, if I was a girl, an 8, 9, 10-year-old girl, I would really enjoy this book series. Well, I am enjoying it, but as an adult, it's kind of a bit silly. But it's, yeah, these are based on like a high school girl and her journey in high school and all her friends, and it's a really cute read. And you can judge me with this as well, but I love my children's books. And like I said, sometimes you just want a simple children's book read, and I'm not ashamed of that either. Now, the next 2 books are both 5 stars, so I'm just going to kind of include them in one because they're by the same author, and that is Project Hail Mary and The Martian. Oh my god, these 5 stars. I think if I was to recommend any books out of this entire pile, it would be these 2, because these books are engaging, and this was my first kind of experience with sci-fi books, and I need to read more sci-fi. So if you guys have any more recommendations about books that are similar to these, please leave a comment below, because I would love to dive more into sci-fi. And there's only 3 more books. I read Magnolia Park, so I'm starting that series, and I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. These type of books I tend to pick up where, like, if I read a heavy fantasy book, I kind of just want a wishy-washy palate cleanser, and this was a good palate cleanser. Like, it wasn't anything amazing for me, that's my opinion, but yeah, entertaining, and this has got me hooked enough to read the other books in this series. The next book is The Sinner by Chantal Tessier. So this is the 3rd book in this series. not the third book, because like I said, you don't have to read them in order. I think out of all of the books, the storyline in this and the characters were my favorite. So I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars, whereas with the other 2 books were just a 4. But this had that extra little bit of edge. It had that extra bit of like a really great storyline. But like I said, please read the trigger warnings and all that with these books, because dark romances are not for everyone. But this was really engaging. 4.5, I had a good time with this book. I think I just liked the male character better in this book. And another cool thing with these books is they give you a playlist of like songs. Not that I've know any of these songs and I haven't listened to the playlist, but I really like it when books do that. Like, it's just another thing to kind of explore with the books. Yeah, so that was enjoyable, if that's the right word for that book. Interesting, but enjoyable. And the final book I have here is the Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I'm slowly making my way through classic books. I'm currently reading Wuthering Heights, and I'm only 30 pages in. But I did read A Christmas Carol just to get a bit more festive and just to see what this book was all about. And I gave this a 4.5. This book, it was an emotional roller coaster. And when I read this book, it actually triggered, like, it made me cry. Just because it triggered all these other emotions and life experiences for me. Like, this book gets really deep. Like, it can be really nice and lovely, but then there are some bits in the book which can get really dark, and that took me by surprise. This book made me cry, and it was a short read, but it is packed, well, for me anyway, this was packed with all sorts of emotions, ranging from like happy and beautiful emotions to really dark and sad emotions. And I was really surprised that this book brought that out in me. However, I did enjoy it, and it was a 4.5. I think that is it for this pile. Yeah, what an interesting year for my book journey. If you are still with me in this part of the video, thank you so much for hearing me go on and on and on. If you want more in-depth reviews of any of the books that I mentioned, just leave a comment and I will do that. But I'm happy to unpack any books and do like a proper review of any books that you want to know about. So I do apologize that my reviews on these books were a bit blasé and quick. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in and watching, and it's just fun to reflect on 2024, and I can't wait to see what 2025 brings and my reading journey. Anyway, I'll shut up now. Ciao guys. Mwah.